My uncle didn't want to make me a partner in the family business and chose his inexperienced son instead. But the competition has hired me, and now I'm a traitor to them. My voice trembled slightly as I spoke these words into my phone's voice recorder. I'm Sarah Miller, 30 years old, and a CPA turned CFO of what used to be my family's real estate empire. The weight of recent events pressed heavily on my shoulders as I sat in my modern downtown apartment, trying to make sense of how everything had unraveled so quickly. The skyline of the city stretched out before me through floor-to-ceiling windows, a view I'd earned through years of dedication to our family business. The story I need to share begins with the complicated dynamics of my family's real estate business. My father, who would have been 63 this year, worked alongside his two younger brothers, Michael, 59, and David, 56. They inherited the company from my grandfather, who had a simple vision: three brothers running the business as equal partners. But life rarely follows such straightforward plans. 16 years ago, Uncle David made a decision that would fracture our family irreparably. He split from the business to start his own company. The family's reaction was swift and absolute. They cut him off completely. No one spoke to him, acknowledged him, or even mentioned his name. It was as if he had never existed. Being young and influenced by my family's stance, I learned to do the same, though it felt wrong even then. 3 years ago, my father's passing from double kidney failure changed everything. His health had been declining for years, and with remarkable foresight, he had prepared me to take over his responsibilities. I still remember his words during our late-night training sessions. "Sarah, you need to be ready. This company will need your strength one day." After graduating with my MBA and earning my CPA, I'd spent 9 years working my way up through the company. I didn't just handle my father's responsibilities after his death. I excelled at them, modernizing our financial systems and increasing our portfolio's value significantly. For the past 3 years, I've been serving as CFO, while Uncle Michael took over as CEO. The natural progression should have been clear to everyone. I was the obvious choice to take over when Uncle Michael retired. But sometimes, the most obvious paths are the ones most easily overlooked by those blinded by their own prejudices. 10 days ago, the news came like a thunderbolt on what had started as an ordinary Tuesday morning. My mother's voice on the phone carried an odd mix of confusion and concern. "Sarah, honey, I just heard the strangest thing from Jason's mother. She said you turned down the partnership opportunity. That Michael is offering it to Jason instead." The world seemed to tilt on its axis as I processed these words. My fingers gripped my phone tighter, my knuckles turning white. What partnership opportunity? This is the first I'm hearing of any of this. Confrontation. My hands were shaking as I dialed Uncle Michael's number. The sleek office building across the street reflected the morning sunlight, almost blinding me through my office windows. I needed answers, and I needed them now. "Uncle Michael, we need to talk about this partnership situation," I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the anger bubbling beneath the surface. His response was careful, measured, almost rehearsed. "Sarah, I was planning to discuss this with you soon. I'm announcing my retirement in a couple of months, and I've decided to make Jason the CEO and partner in the firm." The words hit me like a physical blow. Jason, my 23-year-old cousin, who had spent the last year finding himself after graduating with an economics degree, was being handed everything I'd worked 9 years to achieve. I gripped the edge of my desk, my professional demeanor threatening to crack. "Jason has never worked a single day in this industry," I said, my voice tight with controlled emotion. "He doesn't know the first thing about running this company." "That's where you come in, Sarah," Uncle Michael replied, his tone patronizing. "You'll still be CFO, mentoring Jason as he learns the ropes. Your experience will be invaluable in helping him adjust to the role." A bitter laugh escaped me. So I get to train my replacement while remaining in a subordinate position. After everything I've done for this company? Sarah, try to understand, he continued, his voice taking on that familiar placating tone he used when dealing with difficult clients. Jason wouldn't settle for anything less than the CO position. I can't risk him leaving the company like David did. This is my only option. No, Uncle Michael, I countered, my voice growing stronger with each word. Your only option isn't to discount 9 years of my dedication and expertise in favor of your son's entitlement. Make me a partner. That's my minimum requirement. There was a long pause on the line. I'll need to discuss that with Jason first. Those words, the fact that my future in the company I'd helped build needed to be approved by my inexperienced cousin, made something snap inside me. Let me be clear, I said, my voice ice cold. Either you make me a partner, or I walk. Those are your options. Sarah, he sighed, as if explaining something to a child. We live in a free country. You can do what you want, but my decision is made. I've already discussed this with the board. The announcement will be made in a few days. The breaking point. The rest of that day passed in a blur of emotions. The modern office I'd helped design, with its clean lines and impressive views of the city skyline, suddenly felt suffocating. Years of memories, late nights poring over financial reports, successful deals celebrated with my father, the pride in his eyes when I earned my CPA, all of it seemed to mock me now. I sat in my father's old office, now mine, surrounded by the evidence of my contributions to the company. The quarterly reports showing our consistent growth since I took over as CFO mocked me from their frames on the wall. My mother's suggestion to pursue legal action echoed in my mind, but I knew there was a better way to handle this, a way that would hit harder than any lawsuit. The email. My fingers hovered over my keyboard as I composed the email to Uncle David. The city lights were coming on outside my window, creating an ethereal backdrop to this pivotal moment. I kept the message brief and professional. Dear Uncle David, I hope this email finds you well. I'm reaching out regarding recent developments at Miller Real Estate. I believe we may have mutual interests to discuss. I would appreciate the opportunity to meet with you about potential opportunities at your company. Best regards, Sarah Miller. Within 24 hours, his response appeared in my inbox. The meeting was set, and a new chapter was about to begin. Looking back, I'm amazed at how quickly everything happened. Perhaps the universe was finally aligning in my favor. The meeting. The restaurant where I met Uncle David was neutral territory, an upscale place downtown where business deals were made over perfectly cooked steaks and carefully chosen wines. As I approached his table, I found myself studying him, this man who'd been effectively erased from our family photos and conversations for the past 16 years. Sarah, he stood to greet me, his smile genuine and warm. You look so much like your father. The meeting flowed naturally, as if the 16-year gap in our relationship didn't exist. Uncle David listened intently as I outlined my situation, occasionally nodding in understanding. When I finished, he sat back in his chair, a thoughtful expression on his face. You know, I always wondered when Michael would pull something like this, he said, swirling the wine in his glass. He wouldn't have dared while your father was alive. The CFO position at my company is opening up in a few months, and I've been looking for the right person. Someone who knows the industry. Someone with real experience and drive. He leaned forward, his expression serious. I'm prepared to offer you not just the CFO position, but a partnership track. After my retirement, you could step up as CEO. No nepotism, no games, just recognition of your abilities and experience. The resignation. The weight of my decision settled over me as I drafted my resignation letter. Each word was carefully chosen, professional yet firm. I didn't owe them an explanation, but I wanted the record to be clear. My last day would be in 2 weeks, though Uncle Michael's response suggested even that was unnecessary. "We have replacements ready." His terse email read, "Your position will be covered." The coldness of his response only confirmed I'd made the right choice. 9 years of dedication dismissed in a single sentence. The announcement. The social media post was simple but impactful. A photo of me with Uncle David and his executive team, taken at a welcome dinner. My LinkedIn update announced my new role as CFO at David Miller Properties, and my inbox immediately exploded with notifications. The family's reaction was nuclear. Messages flooded my phone, texts, voicemails, emails, all expressing shock, anger, and accusations of betrayal. Uncle Michael's message stood out among them. "You're a traitor to this family. There will be consequences." I let them all go unanswered, except for one, my mother's call. "Sarah." Her voice was strained when I picked up. "What have you done?" "What I had to do, Mom. They left me no choice. There's so much you don't understand about David, things you don't know." "Then tell me," I challenged. "I'm not a child anymore. What's this big secret everyone's keeping?" The silence on the line was deafening. Finally, she spoke. "It's not appropriate for you to know. Just be careful." The call ended with a click, leaving me standing in my apartment, staring at the city lights below. The family photos on my wall seemed to watch me accusingly, but I stood by my decision. If they wanted to treat me like an outsider, I'd give them what they wanted. 3 days later, the silence from my family was deafening. Like Uncle David before me, I'd become a non-person, erased from family conversations and group chats. The parallels weren't lost on me, history repeating itself in an ironic twist. Uncle David noticed my quietness during our strategy meeting. After everyone else left, he lingered. "They'll treat you like they treated me," he said softly. "But you're stronger than you know, Sarah. Your father saw that in you." 6 days into the new role, my office at David Miller Properties offered a different view of the city, but the energy was refreshing. The paperwork for my partnership was processing through legal, and despite my mother's cryptic warnings, I found myself thriving. Uncle David's transparency about company operations was a stark contrast to the secretive environment I'd left behind. "Unlike your previous company," he explained during our morning briefing, "we're not a private company. The board needs to approve your partnership, but as CEO, I can assure you it's just a formality." The transition felt natural. The senior executives, already familiar with my reputation in the industry, welcomed me warmly. My old team's group chat kept me updated on the chaos I'd left behind. Dean's promotion announcement, the celebratory party planned in his honor, and my replacement by someone who had always resented my success. A month later, I stood in my kitchen, sipping coffee and reviewing quarterly reports when my doorbell started ringing incessantly. The security feed showed Uncle Michael and Jason standing outside, their faces tight with anger. Speaking through the intercom, I kept my voice level. "I have nothing to discuss with either of you. You're stealing our employees." Uncle Michael's voice crackled through the speaker, anger distorting his words. "This is illegal. Your employees are making their own choices," I replied calmly. "I neither forced nor coerced anyone. If you're concerned about retention, perhaps you should examine your leadership." Jason's voice cut in, dripping with entitlement. "This isn't how you treat family. After everything my father did for you when your dad passed away." I cut him off, my patience finally snapping. "Let's talk about what your father really did, Jason. He told me you were getting the CO position because you wouldn't settle for less. He admitted you'd only be a figurehead while I did all the work. How does that make you feel, knowing you're just a puppet CEO?" The silence that followed was broken only by their muffled argument. As their footsteps retreated, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The next day, I discovered they'd both blocked me on all platforms, a small victory that brought a smile to my face. 6 months later, the city skyline at dusk painted a beautiful backdrop through my office windows at David Miller Properties. The transition was complete. Uncle Michael had officially retired, and Jason had taken over our old company. From my vantage point in the competitor's tower, I watched their struggle with a detached interest. Several familiar faces had joined me here, drawn by better opportunities and a more merit-based environment. The dinner. The truth finally emerged over dinner with Uncle David and his wife at their home. After Aunt Sarah excused herself to rest, I gathered my courage to ask the question that had haunted me for months. "Uncle David," I began, swirling the remaining wine in my glass, "I think I'm old enough now to know what really happened between you and the family." He was quiet for a long moment, his expression thoughtful. When he spoke, his words changed everything. "It was Thanksgiving, about 16 years ago," he began. "Your mother asked for help in the kitchen. What I didn't know was that she had other intentions." His voice grew heavy with the weight of memory. "She tried to initiate something inappropriate, telling me she'd always had feelings for me, despite being married to your father. When I rejected her advances, your father walked in at the worst possible moment." The wine glass in my hand trembled slightly. "What happened then?" "Your mother panicked. She accused me of making advances toward her. Your father was furious, threw me out." He paused, pain evident in his eyes. "Later, she spread rumors about me planning to steal from the company. Your father and Michael confronted me, threatened to ruin me if I didn't leave voluntarily. So I left, started my own company." The truth settled over me like a heavy blanket. My mother's recent behavior, her initial support of legal action, then her sudden withdrawal when I joined Uncle David's company, it all made terrible sense. Present day. 8 months have passed since I learned the truth. I've blocked my mother's number, not out of anger, but necessity. The company continues to thrive under our leadership, absorbing clients from my former family's business, as Jason's inexperience shows through. Industry rumors suggest they're considering replacing him, but I'm no longer invested in their drama. My new role as CFO and partner at David Miller Properties keeps me busy, and for the first time in years, I feel truly valued for my abilities. The family photos that once adorned my walls have been replaced with achievements, my CPA certificate, MBA diploma, and news articles about our company's success. Sometimes I wonder what my father would think of all this, but I've made peace with the fact that none of this was my fault. The truth has set me free, even if it came with the heavy price of lost relationships. Epilogue. The morning sun streams through my office windows as I prepare for another board meeting. A notification pops up on my phone. Another former colleague asking about opportunities here. I smile, remembering Uncle David's words from months ago. "Success is the best revenge, but healing is the greatest victory." He was right. I found both.